right? Our approach is we focus on the business of farming, we call it in simple, right? So we offer advisory services, consulting, and as part of our business, we've got an exporting arm to it. So we're currently doing our FTA, which is American exports. It's a long process. Anyone who's ever done exports will tell you about that one. Europe, we have sorted. UAE, we are sorted. Our goal basically is to ensure prosperity for all our farm partners. Like as I said, communal or private owners. Our approach is very holistic. We're practical, so there's no one size fits all in how we work. We engage the farmer, the business owner, because we do understand that there's a big difference between farming and understanding the business of farming. So, but I'll take you through our model as to how we do it. So in our team, we've got technocrats, as they call themselves, guys who actually go to school for farming. We've got guys who do other services that I'm going to explain later on in our presentation. Next one. So the biggest challenge that we found, obviously, farming is that we don't have a shortage of land in our country. However, water is an issue. So there's one thing to say, there's a river that flows through my village or my farm, but then the access to it is another issue altogether. Be it groundwater or surface water. So we do the applications on behalf of the farmers that we work with directly with GMS. So if you see our banner over there, the process that we take in making sure that you are compliant in farming properly. Next one. Our farming, so if you're farming for the future, conventional farming has always been profitable, don't get me wrong. However, we need to be careful of the environment. So in our approach in farming, we look at sustainability, biodiversity, which obviously means that we protect the environment. Most importantly, protect the humans as well. So some of the illnesses around the world are caused by the food we eat. It's always saying that it's in the food. So watch what you eat and you see how healthy you become. So conservation obviously is understanding the process of moving from your ground like to the shelf. That is not as easy as it sounds. Except out of the land, we're able to identify. So we do in our consulting business. People who say I want to buy a farm, it's 1,000 hectares. But of that, how much exactly can you use for farming? Because one thing to buy size, but quality is the next big thing. Development of a private farm. Offtakes, we deal directly with the likes of SPA. Currently, right now, SPA is one of our clients where we assist them to recruit our farmers into the program, where we offtakes, but we're talking bigger numbers. That's where understanding of the business of farming comes in handy, right? The other partners I'm not going to mention here because obviously they're part of our NDAs and everything that we do. But yeah, we have off-taking of the different produce. Smart. So you can't measure, you can't manage what you can't measure, right? So the documentation process is extremely important. If you refer to the previous slide I spoke about biodiversity, one of the things that we do is assisting farmers to certify to become organic. So the biggest opportunity in farming right now is understanding where the markets are. So if you look at Europe and America, their method of farming has always been conventional, which means they're using the wrong things. But guess what they're eating? What they're looking for? Organic. But the process of becoming an organic farmer, there's a process to it, and that's where the money is at. People, they may say to you, you cannot be commercial, in organic farming methods. That's a lie. You just need to understand it. What they're not saying is that they're confusing the numbers game to say, yes, it was easy for us to farm organically, but the process of moving from conventional farming to organic farming is costing money because then you lose time. But we've got a way around that. Some of my partners have brought you in, we've got organic fertilizers, stuff that will explain how we can move you from conventional farming methods all the way to organic. Okay. So as part of our tools is that you need to understand the market. So there's one thing to farm in your land and then go sell to a local shop. Some of the products we have there, like Tumi, sitting in the corner there with Tumelo. So some of the products obviously need to be accessible not only in consultation across the table, but rather online. So e-commerce is one of the things that we use to access the market. So you have to understand that for you to reach the world, you cannot always go to a local shop in retailing. You have to use the tools of the internet. So in our team, the next slide coming up, you see that we have 3 companies in our group. One of them is actually IT. So we use all of those tools to enhance the farming methods. Access to markets, using the internet, analyzing big data, and all of those things. So I'll tell you a bit more about my background, which is why it's exciting for me. Next. Well, the basic is a piece that explained indigenous knowledge. So we currently in a program right now with the DSI guys, Department of Science and Innovation, which we call DST, Department of Science and Technology, in assisting current farmers that are working with indigenous crops, moringa and other crops. So what we do there, we find it's the same problem where people are good in the knowledge of the crop, but not good in the business of farming. So guys cannot move from 2 or 5 hectares to 50 and 100 hectares. So it's a consulting process that is taking a bit long. We've been engaging with them for the last 6 months, so we're moving into the contracts right now, so we can start assisting those farmers to actually move from a struggling space to get into the market using the tools that we offer as a bouquet. As I already mentioned, the presentation of organic farming. One of the big space in the farming space that people are not aware of, maybe they are aware, but the cost to it is agro-processing. So if you ever work with markets, you'll see that you don't always sell what you farm. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it's not good enough for the market quality. Yeah? However, once a product has been packaged and cut into packets, there's no way of knowing the difference between the different qualities. So if you look at when you go make your soups with different products, that is a big space that we're working on right now to assist farmers that not everything must go to waste. Because in farming space, you know, if you look at the marketplace, there's a huge wastage due to them saying that it's a different grade. So yeah, as I explained, the part of development. So the whole funding structure around it. Look, opportunities are plenty in this country as far as application for funding. However, compliance is a big thing. So there's one thing obviously we have farmed, but due to lack of paperwork and processes with the farmers, they can never take advantage of the funding opportunities. So you can draft a business plan all you want, but if the compliance is not in order, never gonna fly, right? So yeah. So this is the group. Twin Systems is the ICT company. Logistics obviously is our logistics tracking business, and Twin Farms, which is what I'm here about. So each of those 3 companies are completely independent. The two divisions below Twin Farms are research and community-based projects. Transportation is like logistics. So we have trucks, they vary between 8 tons, links, and outliners that we work with. So we do offer opportunities to truck owners of more than 2 trucks plus. I don't mind the 1 truck guys to subcontract to them to give opportunity, because sometimes the bigger companies do not work with 1 or 2 truck owners, but we do allow guys to subcontract for us. Yes, networking. So in IT, when you mention IT to a farmer, that sometimes becomes a swear word, because they're thinking support, they're thinking big data, they're thinking cost of a laptop, and all those nice things. As part of our program, when whichever farm that we sign up with, we always give a laptop, not necessarily for you to play games with it or to see if you can browse the internet, but to actually understand the process of data capturing. Now, our systems are all cloud-based, so laptop can go missing, can break, doesn't change anything. Get you a new laptop and move on. So those are services that we offer as part of our package in the space. Drone farming assessments, I think some of you guys might have seen or heard about it. It's one of the biggest things, most efficient way of doing business. It's costly to it because you cannot just fly a drone without a pilot license. It's not the same as flying planes, but you need to have a pilot license before you can do that. Yes. This is our group, as I explained, the different department heads for the company. And the last one, that will be us. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I didn't speak too fast. You could hear my words. If you didn't, you can ask me. I'll repeat the whole slide. I'm joking. I'll repeat whatever you didn't hear. I'll repeat whatever I didn't hear. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay, this will be Q&A, or is it down into the...
Yeah, you can straight to the questions.
Okay, you can go straight to the question.
Yes.
Okay, got microphone this side. Oh, one there. Start first and come to you afterwards. Thanks.
Just a quick one.
Yeah,
On
man.
the IT company, I'm sorry, wait again.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, man.
On the IT company, do you guys do the IoT on farms, the Internet of Everything, so that you can actually start working with automation like Linda had spoken about, basically? You guys actually have a program that runs all of that?
Cool. So, yeah, thanks for the question. So, as an IT company, we are an HP partner. So, we had a big meeting with HP. Today is Wednesday, so the meeting was on Monday. Yesterday, Monday. So, long and short is that what happens that IoT, Internet of Things, is about, okay, I'm account things that we do as part of the package, right? First one is probes, soil, yeah? So, there's one thing to irrigate and know how much water you've used. But the question is, how much of that water is in the ground, right? So we use probes for that. Importing is the biggest thing of this equipment. So if you look at a farm by its nature, it becomes basically a big hotspot with APs. APs are Wi-Fi units. Okay, guys, I do apologize if I sound like an IT geek. I will try and use easy words. So a farm becomes a big Wi-Fi hotspot. But that means that all the equipment in the farm is connected to the internet, right? So as part of what we do, as part of what we do, networking. Networking is how you create a hotspot. So we've got equipment that can place in the farm that every part of the farm can be connected. Now you've got two options now. You can either use that method or you can use the last one, which is the drone. Drones, obviously, there's a cost to it because you cannot just fly a drone. It's one thing to buy a drone, but you cannot just fly it on your own. You need to have, there's a software behind it, there's a license behind it. But yes, to answer the question in a nutshell, we do facilitate all our stuff, but then we look at the, again, holistic approach, which one is suitable for you? Is it a 1 hectare farm, or is it a 100 hectare farm? And then we discuss the options again, depending on the cost and practicality about it. But yes, big data is our thing.
Yes, thank you. My name is Mighty from Abuja International. We're SMME development specialists within the agribusiness area. So, thank you, my brother, for such an enlightening presentation. Thank you so much. You spoke briefly about the issue of the market. You know, in most cases, when people are talking about the market, the impression is always created that it's like we're talking about something that belongs to other people. We didn't want to invite people to come and tell us about what we consume. Yeah. We fail to acknowledge the fact that I am the market, as long as I eat cabbage and potato, I am the market. But it's something that I will request the leadership maybe to organize one day so that we just speak about this thing. What is this market? Because we miss an opportunity there. But now my question, my brother, is, as a company, because I could see that you're very instrumental in the development of young farmers and so on. But again, with regard to the issue of the market, is there any plan, any program, or a strategic initiative in your company to facilitate the creation of internal market? Because without looking at that particular factor, you can produce marijuana, you can produce whatever. You can produce, but you'll still go to another person to ask him to buy your products, and you still go to SPA to buy the same product that you supply them at. Now, which creates some kind of a dichotomous relationship and disempowering behavior. So do we have any strategy for the creation of internal market so that we don't have to go to another person who will produce, we consume? As Thomas Sankara said, he who feeds you controls you. Yeah. There's no freedom if you can produce your own food. Thank you.
That's my question, bro. So, okay, there's a commercial part to it, which is practical, and there's a business part to it. So I'm going to answer the question in two parts. So when you start a business, you basically need to understand the market forces, right? So lots of people around this room are land. That's why we're here with farmers, right? However, the farming methods are the most important, right? So the biggest issue is that how do you develop a quality product? That's number one. That's where the biggest problem is, right? Number two is that when you have, the joke always says that none of us can farm or produce enough food to feed the whole world because there's so much, right? So many people, there's so much demand for the product. Now, but the quality is the issue, so I'll come back to that now. The other part is that in our engagements with the markets, think in our country, the structures don't work for us at the moment. So you have to play the game and play nice. So to make the project right. So playing nice means that you cannot make your own rules. You need to first comply before making your own rules. Right? So, and because it's a numbers game, we have no access to the structure of the market. So there's one thing to say, I live in Soweto, I live in Kafiso, I live in the East Rand. But to access that market in the formal sector, you need structures. Now, again, comply, then make the new rules. Right? Now, complying means that when we engage the off-takers, so earlier on I spoke about off-takes, we understand what they expect of us. So the farmers that we work with, we need to make sure that they comply on the quality and process of farming. The documentation part is extremely important. Now, whether we're farming for local consumption or export market, nothing changes. The same process applies across the board. Now, the trick again is understanding what the market forces are, which is quality and demand. Seasonal, obviously, depending on crops you're farming. Now, in our program, what we always do is that we do a lot of intercropping for cash flow. The cash crops, again, by nature called cash crops. Plant them now, a couple of months you harvest, if you do. However, nature is that to show you that the pricing will be affected. So one minute you're making good money, next minute you're not making money. Intercropping, when you're focusing on short, medium, and long term, you can get out of the vicious cycle of planting to sell all the time. And if it rains a lot, you lose. If it's too hot, you lose again. Right? Intercropping, we say some crops are quite resilient to drought. They will produce for you even if there's no rain or it's too hot. The yield may drop. So that brings coming to a part of conservation to say that how commercially viable is your farm, right? Now, long-term strategy now, back to part two of my answer, is that once then we understand the rules of the game, we can then start making new. I mean, Maponya, I was born in Klerksdorp, grew up in the Eastern Cape. Soweto was a swear word, because Soweto was known only for violence and all the bad things, right? Because Soweto in trouble if you don't know the lingo. But when I came to stay, my mother, when she left Klerksdorp to come to Gauteng, she stayed in Soweto for a few years. So we came to visit her the one time. Everyone knew of Maponya. Since old men had multiple shops, but Maponya in Orlando, wow man, anyone who's from Soweto will tell you that old man got that thing right. He didn't start building Maponya more, started off very small. So again, understand the rules. Play them well. Have a strategy of long term to grow. So that's one thing, you need to be patient enough. So people call it in business overnight success that took 100 years to get there. So the joke is that you see someone who's successful, you think they will not success, no such thing. You need to understand the rules, be patient enough to build, but stay true to your long-term goal. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, let's take our next question.
Hi, my name is Sitobo. I'm from in the Boschkop area of Pretoria. I started recently, about maybe 2 years ago. And my question is specifically with your technology systems, because I found that as a young farmer starting in, you're competing with people who already have quite, should I say, capital invested heavy farms, which have machinery and things to help you, produce at that level that is needed to actually compete in the market. Now, I learned the hard way specifically because I started farming tomatoes in tunnels, and I spent a lot of money on labor, just trying to box and sort the actual tomato. Yeah, and then the output of that, I didn't really get sort of profit from that. So a lot of my problems in farming has been with seeking out capital investment just to get a level to compete. Now, with your offering of the ICT systems and stuff like that, I see you also heavily talk about water, which is a problem because I also started farming outside and I had a lot of problems with water issues until I went to the tunnels. Yeah. But with the tunnels, I used a drip system, which was much better in terms of water conservation, and it yielded a better product. But those were very difficult to get because of all the capital investment that's required. So when you guys offer services on technology, do you keep that in mind, that the initial investment in terms of having your farm compete or having your farm not use old methods and new methods as very capital heavy, and do you help farmers sort of get that capital to get going?
Okay. So we've got a few options. So, I'll give you the menu right now. Communal land owners, there's land, no money. Private land owners, combination of I have money and no money as well. So, our approach is obviously to engage you directly and check your appetite on the risk and also how deep your pocket is. Once you've done that, then you look at your own personal goals, right, and ambitions. Now we go to your last part, which is reality. You actually have the mind to what you want to do. And then that's why we go back again to square one again and say, with everything that you have in mind, this is what we advise you to do. We get your long-term goal, but for you to get there, you need to do a few things. Intercropping is one of those things. So, in your example, chances are I would have said, sure, let's go for tomatoes and whatever else. However, let's plant another crop that even if we lose money with these tomatoes, can give us money in 6 months guaranteed. Intercropping will do that for you. So we do from your soil testing, water testing, and look at what nutrients are on the ground and what we can plant at the lowest input. Remember, you can either fight with nature or work with nature, right? So you do a soil testing to tell you what's in there first. And then, depending on what you want to plant, you can then plant the appropriate crops to get the highest yield. So in our assessments, depending again on the availability of resources, being the capital, and obviously the resources we need to actually plant with the water. So if you have no water, you must put a borehole in the ground. A borehole 60, 100,000, are with me? So we can work it out. So without that being in place, I've seen, so one of our area clients a couple of years ago, she had a lot of land, beautiful, trust me. It was a commercial farm before, bought like seedlings, crazy lot of seedlings, like 20 grand worth of seedlings. Get there and she says, I've got boreholes, can you go test them for me? Like, yeah, sure. Okay, so we test the boreholes, guess what? Both of them didn't have enough water. But guess what? Seedlings are over there. Where do you put them? Horse cut, yeah? Process is very important. So we have to stick to the process, guys. The question I was asked earlier on about same thing exactly. So there's the technology part of it is important, but if we understand the process that we need to take to get where we're going, it makes things. I mean, if we're making a burger, people and knows how to make a burger. You need to have a bun, you need to have some few veggies around, you need to have some meat. You know what I'm saying? And then hopefully a fire to cook it, unless you don't need to cook meat. But you have to just the process. Even in farming, don't take any shortcuts. Don't rush to making the money. Be patient enough. If you don't know, talk. We are available. Come and talk to you. Can have a Zoom call. Can come out to you. So normally our consultation, the first visits is generally quite free unless you make us drive to Cape Town. I'm just kidding. We can normally come to you for free. Just talk to you. It's a conversation. Because remember, in me talking to you, I don't lose money. It's an opportunity. So we never see that as a problem. So we talk to you and then we give you a plan. It doesn't work out, we shake hands, walk away. Okay. There's no loss of money in that conversation. It's a conversation you just had, and out of that you can either know this is going to work or not going to work, and what it will take for us to work. And then we sign, and you will use, give a quotation, you approve it, you hit the ground running. If it's a bigger project, we need to get our other partners involved. Because obviously we've got more land than just 100 hectares, 1,000 hectares or so. We bring in bigger players that we already have agreements with. Same agreement still applies. Who's got the money, who's got appetite. So the whole share split behind it in the model. 100% of zero is still zero. But 10% of a bigger number is actually a big number. I will be do the math. So I always say people don't ever be hung up on the fact that I'm 100% owner of anything. If it's worth nothing, it's always going to be worth nothing. But if you're willing to share with someone else who's willing to invest and take the risk with you, you can both get rewarded. So it's a less. Sometimes I've seen the biggest part. I've been an entrepreneur since 2004, so I know what it feels to own something, and I know the pride and the ego that goes with it. And owning something 100% can get in your head, but in business you need to pray that your ego part drops. Because if it doesn't drop, you can always be holding to 100% over zero. So those are things that we have discussions, uncomfortable discussions. I mean, if I tell you the discussions we have with community chiefs and tribal councils, you go there, obviously people that have lots of land, sometimes no water rights, sometimes water rights. There we go there with humility. We speak to them and say, guys, I've been in business for all these years. I'm not a technocrat, but I know the business of farming. So I'll bring in my team to come and do all of these things for you. And then once we decide which way we're going to go, we bring in the experts, we bring in the partners to come and invest in your land. We facilitate the whole transaction. And then to move over to a stage where we can say we own the land, and we own the resources, and we own the markets. But sometimes we can't have it all in one go. So we must take it one by at a time, yeah? Rome, one brick at a time. So yeah. Hope everyone is covered. Thanks for your time, and I think